10-minute game. Let's go. Let's focus. Let's go knight c6, the knight tangle. Let's get him out of theory. The first goal with Eric is to get him out of theory at all costs. You cannot land in his preparation because his preparation is legitimately extremely dangerous. So this actually is an interesting setup against the London because d5 was running into e5. Now we're going to play King's Indian themed move d6. I mean, I'm basically just improvising on the spot, and I think we're already out of theory, which is exactly what I wanted. Knight c3, okay. So we could play this like a perk. I mean, I could play g6, e4, bishop g7, and then we've transposed into a line that I actually do play with black. Yeah, I don't see the downside of that. Anytime white plays d5, it's not super dangerous, I think. So now we have to get the move order right, because if we go bishop g7, are we afraid of... Nah, we're not afraid of bishop h6 at this early juncture. It's a little too early to be afraid of that. If he plays bishop h6, I think I can take it and go d5 and transpose into some sort of a Jabava London structure where typically the early bishop h6 is not dangerous. I'm anticipating e4. I think he's going to go e4. Or castles, Going to get something very tactical here. Yeah, bishop h6, so we take it. And d5, let's just go for it. Preventing e4. I think he's going to castle, and then we have to actually pause, because then things get very concrete. So if he castles, what do we do? Knight g4 comes to mind as a candidate move. Knight g4 is interesting for sure. h3, very slow approach by Rosen, preventing knight g4. This is a critical moment, I think, in the game. Now, the simple approach would be bishop f5, but then he might be able to go no, but g4, bishop takes c2. So bishop, I don't see a reason not to develop the bishop. I mean, very primitive play. I'm playing very straightforwardly here. But I haven't decided yet where I want to tuck my king away. If he castles, I think I can go knight b4. Wow, or even knight e4. Or even, no, b5 looks a little too flimsy. Wait, what's wrong with knight b4? Well, I guess there's only one way to find out, yeah? I think this is bad for white. If he's not careful, like rook d2 runs into knight e4, it's going to get very dicey for him here if he's not careful. Although it can get dicey for both of us, obviously. Maybe he can play a3. But then I can play a5. Or I could take on c2. No, I can take on c2 there. Yeah, a3, knight takes c2, g4, there's this weird move, bishop e4. Knight e4, d takes c4, and the knight on f3 is hanging. And my knight could potentially evacuate through a1. So let's consider, he could go knight e1 also, but that's very passive. I also have c7, c5 opening up an avenue for the queen, which of course is a very typical idea in these structures. But on the other hand, c5 is also quite weakening, so we'll see what he plays. Yeah, I like my position here in the early going. It's some sort of a Jabava structure where white has prematurely played bishop h6, I think. I'd assess this as, I'm actually going to write down my assessment here. So after move 9, I'm going to see how accurate I am or how inaccurate. So after versus Rosen, black. Move 9. I'm going to say black is slightly better, minus 0.3. Rook d2 played. Okay, so let's consider the candidate moves. Knight e4. Let's calculate. Knight takes c4. D takes c4. Now he could throw in queen g7, rook f8. I don't think that changes anything. Knight e4, knight e4, d4, knight e5 is pretty much certain. Then I could play queen d5. Then a2 is hanging, so he would have to play c4. Knight takes a2 check. Ooh, but he can't go king b1 there because of e3 check. So he'd have to go king to d1, but then I play queen a5 with a big attack. So let's do this again. Knight e4, takes. What are his options there? He could play some sort of intermezzo a3, but then I have a check on a2. Then ef, queen d5, and fg. Knight e4, takes, knight h4. No, let's do it. Knight e4, let's go. I believe in this move. I believe in this move because as long as his kingside remains unopened, I think I can take him by storm with queen d5. So I'm anticipating knight e5 here. I think he's going to go knight e5. He might also throw in queen g7, but if I understand this correctly, it doesn't change much. Queen g7, rook f8, the inclusion is irrelevant, not germane to my attack. As long as his kingside remains closed, I think the attack is very dangerous for white. Now, my feeling is the computer probably will find some like very concrete way to defend this, maybe like a3 or something, but I think for a human, it's quite difficult. Even a3 doesn't look good, honestly. Yeah, knight a2 and ef. But then gf. Queen d5, e4. Let me calculate this. a3. Wow. I see a cool line. Queen g7 played. Okay, great. Fine, sure. Again, I don't think it changes much. Now, knight g5, queen d5, knight h7, queen a2. Queen f8, check, king d7. Of course, I did not see that when I played knight e4, but I think it's a beautiful line. Knight g5, queen d5, and I can sack both rooks, but because his rook is on d2, I'm always threatening checkmate on a1. Okay. Wow. Some ridiculous lines here. I'm also looking at queen e5. He takes it. Okay, he plays a3 actually, so that's one thing that I did consider. And here what I was calculating was ef, ab, queen d5. The idea is to threaten fg. I think he has to take my pawn, and then I slide into a2. And I think I'm basically... then he has rook d1. Queen a1, king d2. Queen takes b2, e4. Long castle. Whoa. That's pretty cool, actually. I think that's good for me. I don't like knight a2, king b1, ef, because then he can actually take my pawn and the knight is stranded. So let's take. Let's do this. The good thing about the move queen d5 is I'm also preparing long castle in some instances. If he plays e takes f3, queen a2, bishop b5 check doesn't do anything. So he has to run with his king, and that looks terrible for white. Yeah, that would be totally winning for me. I'm also threatening this fork. So this is the whole idea, that I'm threatening this fork. And so I'm trying to, distract him, and now we can dive into a2. Yep, exactly what I calculated. Check, queen b2, e4, long castle. And he cannot take my bishop because his queen on g7 will be skewered in the end. I think, if I understand this correctly. e4 long castle, and that's where I stopped my calculation. I think I'm winning if I'm accurate here. Yeah, his position's collapsing, because also if I take f3, I would hit the rook on h1. So if he goes king e1, I can give a check. Or even like rook g8 in some instances, queen 2. Yeah, he's collapsing here, I think. Yeah. So if he takes my bishop, I play rook takes d4 and then rook e4. Discovery. Ooh, bishop d3, though. I didn't see that. That one I didn't see, actually. It doesn't change anything, though. I think bishop e6, I'm still basically winning. For some reason, I thought I could play rook d4, but then my rook falls with check. This might be taken. But then king e3, that I don't like. That I like a little bit less, let's put it this way. Yeah, let's just liquidate into a winning endgame. Why not? Completely winning up a pawn, and his pawn structure is a disaster. I think he has to try king e3, basically. f6, maybe. I have a lot of options here. Let's not hurry. f6, queen takes e7 somehow is annoying. I have... Okay, fine. f5 also is a move, by the way. f5 is interesting. I just realized, wait, f5 looks really sexy. Yeah, what about just f5? And then I'm threatening queen takes d4 and f4. That's a beautiful idea also. Let's go f5. Let's open up another front here. I can take on d4 and then go f4 check if he allows. If he plays queen e5, that's actually really pretty, I think. And then I'd have to show some technique, but he's got 2 minutes also. Rook b1, queen takes d4 still. Yeah, Eric defending very resiliently here, but I feel like white must be collapsing somehow. Too many attackers. Okay, he's under 2 minutes. This is not looking savable for white if I can keep the composure. Well, we're only 20 moves in. It feels like it's been a lifetime. I feel like he's probably gonna take, honestly, but then rook f6 even. Okay, rook a1. So, wait, what about rook takes d4? Rook d4 takes back. Whoa. Jesus. He can actually attack my queen this way, but then I have queen c3. This is what I was thinking. Queen rook f6, and now this pawn is hanging. If d5, I have rook f3 check with another discovery on the queen. Even d5 bishop takes d5 looks good, frankly. Or d5 rook f8. I probably have better moves than winning the queen. d5 rook takes d5 looks pretty. How do I finish this in style is the big question. Can I finish it in style? So close. I'm looking for a pretty mate. I mean, I could just take here, honestly, and probably just win. And I probably shouldn't waste time. Yeah, let's just take, fine. Let's go here. Queen c3 looks winning. This one too. Oh, that's mate. Wow. If rook a7, I have queen h2. I think if bishop takes c4, queen h2 is mate. And it's still mate. Yeah, he should have gone to d2, but that's also losing. GG. Look at this line. King d2, rook d3, cd, queen d3, king c1, queen c3, bishop d3, rook f1, rook a1 mate. That would have been fitting. GG.